On August 1, 2026, the US government did something it doesn't do lightly. It told its own citizens in 10 different Middle Eastern countries to think about leaving. Not some routine travel advisory. A direct warning: be ready to get out if things escalate. The alerts came from US embassies in Bahrain, Egypt, Iraq, Israel, Jordan, Kuwait, Lebanon, Oman, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE. Basically every country in the region with an American diplomatic presence. And the language was unusually direct. Americans in the region should consider departing, or be prepared to depart should there be escalation, the security alert said. The message: the security situation is fluid. The Iranian regime is unpredictable. And Americans should expect flight cancellations, airspace closures, and travel disruptions at any moment. This is the broadest security warning Washington has put out since this war started. And it came just one day after President Trump threatened to hit Iran very hard. So what's actually going on? Let's break it down. The alerts were pretty much identical across all 10 embassies. They described the situation as complex with the potential for unforeseen escalation. That's diplomatic speak for, we have no idea what's coming next, but it could get ugly. The specific warnings changed depending on the country. In Jordan, Americans were told to stay away from US military bases because those bases have been hit by Iranian missiles recently. In Israel, citizens were told to find the nearest bomb shelter and stay ready. The US Embassy in Beirut said it's still on ordered departure status, meaning non-essential government staff have already been moved out of Lebanon. That's a status they only use when the threat is serious. And here's the part that should grab your attention. The embassy in Jerusalem specifically mentioned that Iran is now attacking places it never hit before, including Egypt. That's new. Egypt had mostly stayed out of this conflict until now. So why did this alert drop on August 1st? The direct trigger was a threat from President Trump. During a cabinet meeting at Camp David on Friday, July 31st, Trump said the US would keep hitting Iran very hard until they can't take it anymore. There's more context. The Wall Street Journal reported on July 31st, citing unnamed US officials, that Trump had ordered the military to launch a new attack on Iran as soon as that weekend. The goal: force Tehran to surrender. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt didn't confirm the report directly. But she said, and I'm quoting, "Iran will continue to pay until they come to the table in what President Trump deems a meaningful way." This war started on February 28, when the US and Israel launched joint strikes on Tehran. That attack killed Iran's Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, senior military commanders, and civilians. Iran hit back with waves of missiles and drones. A brief ceasefire fell apart in July. And now both sides are trading fire again. Iran didn't stay quiet. On the same day the US embassies put out their warnings, Iran's military fired back with a statement that was hard to ignore. Ali Abdullahi, who runs Iran's military central command, accused Washington of escalating tensions and warned that any country backing the US will be targeted. That's a direct threat to every nation hosting American bases in the region. Mohammad Mokber, an advisor to Iran's supreme leader, took it even further. He posted on X, "You calculate through military equations, but we respond with the logic of history." Attacking Iran's infrastructure directly awakens the fault lines on which 250 years of your hegemonic architecture have been built. And according to Iran's semi-official Tasnim news agency, Tehran has put together an extensive plan to respond to any attacks on its infrastructure. That plan reportedly includes hitting vital Israeli infrastructure and US energy assets across the Middle East. Now let's talk about what this means for the rest of the world. Because this war isn't staying contained in the Middle East. Iran has effectively controlled navigation through the Strait of Hormuz since February 28. That's the narrow waterway that handles about 20% of the world's oil supply. Ships now need Iranian permission and have to pay transit fees to use it. Maritime tracking firm PLR said traffic through Hormuz has dropped sharply. 72 at the start of July. That's an $18 jump in a single month. On August 1st, an unknown projectile hit a tanker off the coast of Oman. A British maritime agency reported another explosion near a different vessel in the strait. And on July 29, a drone struck a US-owned gas ship docked at an Egyptian port, starting a fire. Meanwhile, the Houthis in Yemen have opened a new front in the Red Sea, targeting Saudi oil tankers. And Iran's Supreme National Security Council warned that any more escalation would lead to the closure of other strategic choke points beyond Hormuz. This conflict is pulling in more countries by the week. Saudi Arabia joined the US in striking Iran-backed militias in Iraq. Kuwait's air defense intercepted Iranian drones on August 1. Egypt got dragged in when 2 LNG ships were hit at the port of Damietta. On the Lebanon front, Israel's military killed 3 Hezbollah fighters in southern Lebanon. 1 Israeli soldier was injured in a close-quarters fight. That front hasn't seen a pause. And CBS reported that the US is considering striking Iranian energy infrastructure, oil refineries, and power plants. That would be a major step up. Advocacy groups warn that deliberately bombing civilian infrastructure could be considered a war crime. The war has already drained US munitions, especially air defense interceptors. And with midterm elections coming in November, polls show voters broadly disapprove of how Trump is handling the conflict. So where does that leave us? 10 US embassies have told Americans to leave or be ready to leave. Iran has a retaliation plan targeting US and Israeli infrastructure. Global energy markets are in chaos. And the war is spreading to new countries and new fronts. The situation is genuinely unpredictable. The US Embassy in Jerusalem put it best: the Iranian regime has shown it will attack without warning and expand to places it never hit before. That's not diplomatic language. That's a warning. If you found this breakdown useful, hit subscribe. I'm making videos like this every week breaking down the stories that actually matter. Drop a comment: do you think this conflict gets worse, or does diplomacy finally get a chance? Thanks for watching.